What's up, movie people? It's me, Drew, and welcome to Social Distance Cinema Discussion. We might have to change the name of this show in a little bit because of all the people getting vaccinated. So if you have an idea for a new show name, let me know in the comments section and maybe we'll do a ballot. This week we watched The End of the Tour, recommended to us by Dave, and that's been on his list for quite a while now, so I'm glad we finally got the chance to watch it. It's kind of difficult to determine where actually to start with this movie. We know it's based on a true story about the real-life event when David Lipsky went to interview David Foster Wallace at the end of his book tour for Infinite Jest in 1996. The plot hinges on a Rolling Stones article that Lipsky wants to write about Wallace, so I looked up the interview and found out that it actually never made it to publication. The month after Lipsky's trip, the Rolling Stones magazine sent him to go cover a heroin epidemic that was breaking out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, what does he have to say about the heroin rumors?
I haven't gotten to that yet.
What are you waiting for?
What am I supposed to say? Is it true you were a heroin addict?
Yes, that's your story.
Oh, okay, well it's hard.
Why? Because you like him?
Well, yeah.
David, you gotta press him.
Okay.
Be a prick if you have to. You're not his best buddy.
I know.
You're a reporter.
All right. Bye.
It's kind of hard to determine if those rumors surrounding David Foster Wallace's heroin use were an actual thing, or whether the movie was just referencing the Rolling Stones' sudden interest in heroin for no apparent reason. You can find out yourself though, because Lipsky actually saved all of his recordings and then collected them into a book entitled Although of Course You End Up Becoming Yourself, which you can find a link for down below. From what I understand, The End of the Tour actually pulls a lot directly from that book and uses actual quotes from the tape recordings in the film. I can't really say definitively though, because the YouTube algorithm demands that I make one of these videos every fucking week. I'm also a really slow reader, so I don't really have time to read the book and get into the nitty-gritties. The End of the Tour is not really a plot-heavy film. It focuses on the emotional journey of Lipsky and Wallace, and therefore a lot of the weight lies on the actor's shoulders. For preparation, Jason Segel read most of Wallace's work, while Jesse Eisenberg had the privilege of meeting with Lipsky. In my limited research into understanding the person that is David Lipsky, I'm pretty sure Jesse Eisenberg did a great job. There's a hint of begrudging, competitive, or jealous romanticism to him that can be seen in several scenes in the movie.
What are you doing tonight?
Okay, don't ask her.
Oh, wow. You're kidding me.
You were on the phone with him for like a half an hour.
It wasn't a half hour.
It was 25 minutes, okay? I timed it.
But also in this interview that I found.
My girlfriend was visiting from California. She was just sitting in my bedroom reading his book in this extremely languorous way. While she was there, this is not lovely behavior on my part, but I read what was on her computer.
The actors were given access to Lipsky's real-life recordings, and that helped Jason Segel form the voice and personality of Wallace.
I think part of it is going to readings. You do a reading at a bookstore,
right.
and then afterwards there's usually a Q&A,
Right.
which it's very difficult to get out of. I've tried all kinds of things.
I mean to be a prima donna, but do you mind if we don't do a Q&A?
Oh, yeah, of course. Whatever makes you feel most comfortable.
A choice that I thought was interesting was that from the very first opening shot, we see the impact that Wallace had on Lipsky's life. His apartment reflects visually much of what David Wallace's house looked like. It's disheveled with some piles of laundry and papers lying around and some stacks of books. And there's also a dog, which doesn't seem to be present in his youth. It's a little puzzling that they decided to show the protagonist at the end of his arc at the beginning of the story, but I think it definitely added some rewatch value. I think we could have done with a few more scenes in 2008 where we see Lipsky really taking Wallace's philosophy to heart. But if the script only had one scene for this, I think the director, and maybe the set dresser, did a really good job at visually showing this arc. All right, the scene's got no dialogue. I need you to show him at the end of his arc. You got 2 minutes. There's something to be said for the way the film is shot too, or maybe there isn't, because The End of Tour shies away from flashy filmmaking. There's no advanced camera moves or large set pieces or flashy shots, but instead, the film tries to instill a sense of authenticity in the audience. The film is shot in handheld, giving you the sense that most of these events are occurring in real time. The lighting is quite subdued and mostly natural, and the set design is not overly staged and kind of messy. The most in-your-face cinematography that we see is a varying degree of lens focus. It's used intentionally to show Lipsky going into flashback and the shakiness or fogginess of that memory, and from a filmmaking standpoint, that's pretty much as easy as doing that. And still, in other scenes in the movie, it seems like the focal point is static, and instead the camera is moving closer and further away from the subject, getting them in and out of focus, which is arguably even easier. I liked it though, because fancy cinematography would have felt so out of place in this film. Your attention is not meant to be drawn to the camera, but instead the dialogue and the actions occurring between the characters. If you distract from the characters, you pretty much ruin the whole point of the film. As a director, it's good to know when to use crazy cinematography and when to just let the actors do their thing. And this movie is case in point. In the end, the best part of this movie is getting to know David Foster Wallace as a person. He's simultaneously the most interesting and intelligent person in the room, while also being the most human and down to earth. A couple times in the movie, he talks about this American lifestyle that he finds faulty.
Sometimes I would not drink at all for like 2 weeks, but instead I would run 10 miles every morning in a desperate, like a very American, I will fix this somehow by taking radical action sort of thing. It was much more that I lived an incredibly American life. This idea that if I could just achieve X and Y and Z, that everything would be okay.
Clearly, he had some mental health issues, but these problems seem exacerbated by the American society that he was born into. People in America are so obsessed with selling people on things that Wallace's personhood was brought into question. They deemed him to be inauthentic because he was successful with a personality unlike any successful person they had ever seen. We see just how self-conscious Wallace is about his public image when Lipsky brings up his bandana.
I gotta ask, what is with the bandana?
What? What do you mean?
No, people think it's your way of, connecting to a younger reading audience.
I kind of wish you hadn't brought this up, man.
I'm sorry about that. Why?
Because now I'm worried it's going to seem intentional. Like if I don't wear it, am I not wearing it because I'm bowing to other people's perception that it's a commercial choice? Or do I do what I want to do even though it's perceived as a commercial choice? And it's like a whole crazy circle I got to go around in now.
The world sees Wallace's personality as a marketing scheme, and that thought can be very damaging to someone who has a perpetual identity crisis because of his own depression. Likewise, in America, we value achievements and success in order to hold ourselves in a higher esteem than our peers. That spirit of competition can become rancid, especially if society has declared that we are successful, but we are still unhappy. It's a depressing thought experiment to ponder how much influence society and fame had on Wallace's eventual suicide. To be clear, he was likely genetically predisposed towards a depressive personality, but how much less would he have had to worry about if he wasn't an icon or shoved into the public spotlight? I, for one, love this movie. I gave it a 13 out of 15 lobsters. Feel free to tell me your rating down below. After watching this movie and all of his interviews on YouTube, I've decided to buy the book Infinite Jest from Bookshop and not Amazon because you should support your local bookstores. If you're interested in reading the book with me, you can find the link down below, and maybe if there's any interest, let me know in the comments. We can do a book breakdown in a couple of weeks rather than a movie breakdown. Could be fun, maybe a few months because I'm terrible at reading. Also, if you're wondering why there was no video last week, there actually was. I made one, but it couldn't get past the YouTube copyright algorithm because it was Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. So if you're interested in watching that, I've also linked it down below and it's on my website. You don't have to do anything, you just click it and you'll watch. Thanks for joining, stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully I'll see you next week.